When it comes to finding a killer mahogany Dreadnought under $1,600, you might find tons of guitars out there with very similar specs. But today we're bringing in 3 of our top contenders that should be your next guitar.
That's right, today we're going to be comparing the Eastman E10D TC, the Alvarez LD60e, and the Yamaha FG5 to see which one delivers the best tone, playability, and bang for your buck.
And stick around because at the very end of this video, we're going to reveal our top 3 favorite string sets to bring out the best tone in any mahogany Dreadnought.
In the shadow of the pine, oh, Lost River, now I'm coming back to the pot-belly stove.
Welcome back to the Acoustic Shop YouTube channel. If you are obsessed with acoustic instruments like we are, we invite you to join our community by liking this video. It's an icon that looks like this. Like this video and subscribe to this channel. It really helps our channel grow, and we appreciate it so much.
We do. And as always, if you're interested in any of these guitars, check out the links below. Every guitar over $1,000 from the Acoustic Shop comes with our Dreadnought guarantee, so you can buy with confidence. All right, guys, let's break down the details of each of these guitars. We're going to start with the Eastman E10D TC. This is a guitar that comes in at $1,559. It is a Dreadnought guitar with a solid torrefied Adirondack spruce top. They call it thermo-cured, but it's the same idea. Solid mahogany sides and back, mahogany neck with a traditional even C shape. The fingerboard and bridge are made of genuine ebony, as well as hand-carved, hand-scalloped X bracing. The nut width on this guitar is 1.75 inches with a bone nut and a bone saddle. Scale length on this is 25.4, making it a true Dreadnought guitar. It does have the open gear tuners with the butterbean buttons on it, with the true tone gloss finish. Does come with a hard shell case and a lifetime warranty, so a great guitar right there.
Next up, let's take a look at the Alvarez LD60e. It comes in at a price point of $1,229. It is also a Dreadnought guitar with a AAA solid North American Sitka spruce top, solid African mahogany back and sides, African mahogany neck on that as well, and ebony fretboard. It does also include the forward shifted X bracing, a 1 3/4 inch nut width, and the material is a bone nut and saddle as well on that one. A 25.5, so you get 0.1
extra power,
an extra tenth of an inch more length to your guitar. An LR Baggs hi-fi system comes standard in it as well. It does have a gloss finish, and instead of a hard shell case, this one will come with a gig bag.
They call it a hard bag.
It's a thick foam hard bag. It's not like, it doesn't have wood.
Yeah, so. You're right. All right, and last but not least, let's check out the Yamaha FG5 GL. Yamaha upgraded this year to having a gloss finish and now comes in at $1,549. Is a Dreadnought style guitar. It is slightly different shaped, but very similar. Does have the ARE solid Sitka spruce top with a solid mahogany. Solid mahogany back and sides. Does also have a mahogany neck. Does have Yamaha's scalloped X bracing, which is their own voicing and style too. 1 3/4 nut, so far all these are coming in about the same. Bone nut and saddle, but this one comes in a slightly shorter scale at 25 inches. Does have the Yamaha proprietary open gear tuners that are very reflective of their Red Label series. Does have a gloss finish now, and does come with a hard shell case, which is a nice little add-on. guitars, there is a little bit of difference in, they all say they have like a C-shaped neck, but I definitely notice a difference. The smallest profile shape of the necks on these guitars is going to go to the Laureate series. They have a little bit of a V point. It's very hinted, where the fullest one...
Largest.
Huh?
I'd say this one might be the largest.
You think so? I thought
so.
that the Eastman was. You know what? They're close. I would say the FG5 and the Eastman E10D. It might be a little bit fuller on the E10D, but they're very, very similar. But different feeling finishes. This one feels more like the traditional Chinese satin finish, and I think some of you guys are going to know what I'm talking about. The True Tone finish is a little bit different feeling. It's harder and has a little bit more orange peel feel to it. Even though it's more satiny.
But all three do have kind of a satin finish to the neck, where full gloss body on them.
Absolutely. As far as the tone woods, we're similar, except for the Eastman definitely gets a massive upgrade here in that it's a red spruce or Adirondack spruce top. All of them are, well, I said that they sort of use torification on that guitar. They do not.
Yeah, the
on
AER
the
series is their version. ARE,
yeah,
their version of torified.
It has. They don't want to fully call it torrefaction, but it is similar. It does a little bit of that there with some, anyway, it's a long...
Science.
Yeah, science.
But anyway, yeah, both these are treated tops. So the fully torrefied Eastman E10D, and that's what the TC stands for, thermocured, where this is just going to be
This is just plain, but it's a higher grade, a quadruple A Sitka spruce top, a little bit of an upgrade there as well.
Otherwise, they all have mahogany
similar
back and sides.
Yes. Now, again, some of them are claiming to be mahogany, some of them are claiming African mahogany. There's such a... there's a little bit of muddiness going on in here in what is true mahogany and what isn't. And that's a whole nother argument.
We'll leave that to Ron Burgundy to decipher.
Anyway, electronics. The only one of these that comes with electronics is going to be the Laureate here, and it does come with the hi-fi system from LR Bags, which is really, really nice. I do think of the new pickup systems that are out. This is a really great option if you're wanting a very acoustic and natural sounding pickup. It is going to be a little more susceptible than some of the under saddle ones, but it's going to sound a lot more real. I guess that's the best way to say that.
Appearance-wise, John, they all have some slight variants. I know that one does have the ivory binding on it, so that's not real common for a mahogany guitar to have ivory.
And I think they brought that in from the LD60, which was a rosewood version, did have that ivory. And this is new this year, is to add mahogany to the line. I like it. Gives me more of that Doc Watson feel. That was what kind of set the Doc Watson guitars apart, various different ones, whether it was the Santa Cruz, obviously the original Gallagher, or any variation in there, was white binding with a mahogany back and sides. Traditionally, it was either black or tortoise.
And that's what we got on this one. We got the black, white, black binding on the Yamaha, and then the tortoise binding on the Eastman. Square peg heads. Actually, this has got a little bit of that Yamaha.
Everybody's got their own.
Got the rounded one, and then Eastman
traditional
square head.
Absolutely. There, this is just comes down to, for most of these guitars, is traditional what they're all about. This is an Alvarez looking and sounding guitar. That's a Yamaha looking and sounding
used a
guitar.
wood pickguard on this one.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a different look and feel.
I'm not sure if it's actually wood. I'm gonna.
Maybe a plastic
I may,
that looks wood.
It is a facsimile
Imitation
of a.
I think you're right there.
A wood. It looks very similar, but it is definitely I think a man-made
And then the
material.
Alvarez, part of the Laureate was doing a more traditional bridge on there, but it's still a little bit different. It doesn't have
It
quite.
is.
It doesn't have
Yours
the,
is a little bit different. Every one of these has their own variants from what would be considered, except for
Eastman's more that traditional.
Yes, it's very much a Martin-style Dreadnought.
Now I noticed yours also doesn't have fret markers going up the fretboard.
It's got the
the
12th
side.
front, it does right here. This has markers and just a 12th fret inlay. But yes, it's compared to the standard dots that you would see on most of
And
those.
is it standard for Yamaha to have all their truss rod adjustments at the headstock?
That is very much standard for them. That came in, again, these guitars got popular in the 60s, and that was when they were still doing truss rods, and that's where most guitars had their truss rod up the top. Later on, Martin followed suit and refused to do it for so many years, so when they did, they kind of hid that. It was such a look, and also traditional makers do the same, so now you can access the truss rod from the inside of the sound hole. Again, you'll see that in the Eastman guitar. Tone, this is an interesting one because I think the tone of these gets appreciated more and more the more you listen to it. And I know this is going to sound very weird, and you guys, I'm going to get flamed
They're
for
used to it.
this.
If they watch the channel,
they're
then
going
things you say
to
sound
hit
very
me.
weird.
There is a more defined and articulate sound. And I want to say that, and again, this is no insult to anybody, when beginner players with every instrument that we've ever talked about, mandolins, violins, whatever it is, they like this super dark and rich, thick type of tone. I think it falls that way with most beginner, intermediate level players. And you're not going to find that out of the Eastman. It's got a much tighter low end. It's there. It's very distinct, but it's much more balanced guitar than what these are about. And that's not wrong, by the way. It's your choice, but I do find that players who have played over time start to now acknowledge those little differences and appreciate them for what they are.
I think it's like when you first get your car and you go to the radio store and put in your new subwoofers in the back, and when you're a teenager, all you want is that.
I hear where you're going here.
You're just like, check out this stereo. But as you get older and you start to appreciate a little more high fidelity,
sonic clarity,
you're looking for a little bit more of that frequency range above the. I think it's the same for guitar, Sean.
You're going to find...
You're welcome for that analogy.
I love that analogy, Jer. You will find that on the Eastman, it is definitely more articulate and balanced. And in that case, for recording and for cutting with other instruments and kind of finding its place and doing it exceptionally well all the way through, I give it a pretty darn high score. I'm actually going to go at 4.5 as my overall score for the Tone.
The E10D has definitely been a standard for the acoustic shop since we opened. They've refined it some more recently. I think with the relationship with Bourgeois, it's gotten a little bit more of that articulated sound that you're talking about. So yeah, I think it's still kind of the standard bearer for that Dreadnought, more modern tone for a Dreadnought guitar. So I'm going to put it right there about 4.4 myself.
All right, there you go. So our next guitar in the tone ratings, we're going to talk about the Alvarez Laureate in the 60 series here. Great guitar. Again, a little bit more low-mid heavy, yet I think strikes a pretty good balance on here. So if you're looking for something a little bit more rich, still has some pretty good highs on it.
Sparkle. I like that demo you just did.
Yeah, didn't you like it?
I'll do that on my next one.
Anyway, it definitely gives another bit of character into it. I like them as well. You know what the truth is? In ratings, gosh, this is a tough one for me.
They're all doing
because
well
I think they're all going to be pretty darn equal because they're all just different. There's nothing wrong or... I'm going to give it a 4.5. I can't help it. I think it's as good. It's just different.
Yeah. Yeah, John, I think I would agree with you that we're not necessarily doing apples to apples. We're in the same price range and just going on general tone, and tone can be so subjective, but these are all doing a real good job of producing a high quality. There are other guitars out there in this price range that don't compete with them as well. We just don't carry those at the acoustic shop because we're very discerning individuals. No. So I'm going to put it right there too. I said this one, it does give me a little bit more of that bass tone that I do like. I'm going to give it a 4.5.
There you go.
So it's got a point higher than these ones. Which brings us to the Yamaha, John. We got the FG5 I'm crossing it with Gibson mandolins.
GL for gloss. That's the new add-on there.
Out of the three, this one probably has the most bass, would you say?
Yes and no. It's very strange. Like I said, I don't think it has, it's just a thumpier bass. And this has, in my opinion, the Eastman actually has more bass. It's just not as fat sounding of bass. I can hear the bass note stronger on that guitar than this one. I think this one is lacking in the highs though, a little bit for me, and the accuracy in the top end.
What's that doing?
You got it, nailed it.
It's got some sparkle.
Where if you're just strumming, I think this would be great. If you're playing more leads, I think it's going to be lacking a little bit more. So this one for me is where I'll probably drop it down one step and give it a 4.4.
All right. Yeah, I can kind of hear what you're saying. It's a little bit, muddy is not the right word. It's not muddy sounding, but it doesn't have quite the note separation or the sparkle between the notes that the other two guitars, I think, do have. So I will give it a little less on that one too. I'll do a 4.3. Let's go back to the Eastman, John, for setup and playability. You talked about it already. Previously, when we talked about Eastman guitars, setup-wise, they're very consistent.
They
you
are.
Like the larger fret wire.
I do. I think they're very comfortable. It's pretty much the way I like guitars set up. They do come as lights. I always switch them over to mediums just because, yeah, for strings. Sorry, they're set up for light gauge strings. But putting up to mediums, they're set extremely well for that because it gives me a lower action than some of the other ones that are set up for mediums. Great overall playability. I like the shape of the neck. I like the feel of it. For me, in the setup and playability, I'm going to give that one a 4.8.
Yeah, I think it's just it's got that bluegrass feel that we all grew up playing. They're very consistent to where we are. They're strong enough that you, with your heavy right hand, don't end up getting buzzes on them. Pretty much anytime we get an Eastman in, you're able to play it without some buzzing once you switch over to the medium gauge strings. So it's definitely what we're used to. Some people may find it to be a little heavier than what they are used to. I'm going to, for our use case, I'm going to give it a 4.9. There's nothing really I would change on there.
For setup on the Alvarez Laureate, it is definitely set up. I would say if you are more of a folk style player, play light, you'll do extremely well. It's
a little heavier than that.
It's maybe, no, it's as low, if not even a little bit lower than a Taylor's type setup. It doesn't have as much height at the far end, which makes for a much more powerful guitar. And, you know, that's where that is. It feels kind of small in my hands for setup, and I don't know how to explain that because
That's just the neck.
I think it might be the neck depth along with the very low action. It just doesn't, like I said, I can overplay this one a little bit easier. If you're looking for a great low setup out of the box, this is where it's going to fall a little bit nicer. So for me, I'm going to go with a 4.6.
Yeah, I think for me, John, I don't play as heavy as you do, so I kind of like that lighter action, that lighter setup, and the smaller neck. So these all feel a little bit big for my hand. So I think the Laureate might actually be a little bit more my style. I'm going to give it a 4.7.
So let's talk about the Yamaha FG5. Again, on the setup of these guitars, I tend to find them a little bit beefy.
Yeah,
I
was gonna say.
which is funny because I've talked to so many people and that's what they believe.
Or daddy set up, the mama set up.
These ones tend to be a little bit beefier and out of the box, not quite as I would prefer to see them. But not bad either. Again, a good overall setup, but it's just not quite to my liking. I'm going to go with a 4.5 on that.
Well, they always say, John, you can remove some material, you can't add it. So maybe they just start with a little bit high and you take that saddle out and lower it a little bit if you need that. But it is definitely a little on the higher side of the three guitars we got here. So if straight out of the box, if I was just judging my setup preference, this one's a little bit on the high side. I'm going to give it a 4.4.
There you go. Build quality. All these are great guitars. They really are. I think we are all very blessed to be able.
We're spoiled.
Yeah, we are, because there are so many good guitars out there. In my opinion, the one though with the best fit and finish and build quality, and again, we always get grief for this because we do sell so many Eastmans. The build quality on the Eastman is really good. The inside of it looks great. The shapings of the bracing looks fantastic. The finish looks great. The shape of the bridge, there's tight joints. I mean, especially at its price point, it's really hard to build it or to beat its overall build quality. And again, if you get a hold of one, you'll kind of see what I'm talking about. They just feel like a higher end build. It just does.
Through appearance and just playability. What would you rate it at?
So for me on build quality, I'm going to give that one a 4.9.
I agree. I think they consistently, which is the most surprising thing, because they are building a lot of guitars. Definitely not up to the level of Martin production, but for a smaller company, building a lot of guitars and consistently, we don't find many flaws. They're doing a really good job to keep up build quality. So I'm going to give it a 4.9 as well.
Mm-hmm. When we come into the Laureate, it is a great sounding and playing guitar. I'm a real big fan of these. I really do like the overall tone and experience here, but you cannot help but feeling a little bit cheaper. It's just, it has kind of that same finish that doesn't have the hard edges because it's going to be more of a heavier sprayed finish. Now the inside of these looks great. That is where I think I do give them, but the neck and the finish feel is probably the spot that I notice the biggest
You also notice when you were
quality.
like bending the strings on there?
Yeah, we were messing with these, and they're not going through and polishing the frets and cleaning all that kind of stuff out to kind of be that final, quality. It's great. It's a really good quality guitar, and if we'd have been talking 10 years ago, this would be a whole nother argument, but things have come even that much further in the last 10 years, and we're seeing better and better quality. So again, great guitar. I'm going to give it a 4.4 on the overall build quality.
Yeah, I think it's very hard these days because the bar has been raised so much that now we're looking for little things. It's almost like if you're a judge at the gymnastics or the Olympics, you're looking for a tiny little flaw or a tiny mistake because the competition is so high. So same thing with these guitar builds. All of them are very well built. You can tell that they're not a cheaply built instrument, any of these that we're talking about right now, but you can start to look for those fine details. I won't go quite as low as that one. If we get to 4.9 for the Eastman, I'm going to go with a 4.7 for Laureate.
Now let's get to the Yamaha guitar, and this one's a mixed bag for me because I've got two things to say about Yamaha. There's some things as far as the fit and finish that I am not thrilled with. I can see the kind of edges on the binding
It's the same
a little
with the
bit
neck
more.
joint we talked about.
The
It kinda
neck
rolls
with the
over.
roll. Very not refined looking braces on the inside.
I think that's the part that stands out the most. They're very squared and also just rough wood. Like
Rough.
It's not sanded or clean.
But here's what I can say about Yamaha. of all the brands, and I do mean every one of the brands that we have carried in here, we have had less QC returns. And by the way, we return guitars all the time. One of the
just
things,
about every
manufacturer, I don't care if it's Martin or if it's whoever, they come into our shop, they have to go through this same exact QC check when they arrive at our shop. We go through it and we run it. But I will say
that's for good reason, because if we send it out to a customer that is gonna get it sight unseen, they're trusting us. They get it home and they're like, "You guys sent me this guitar with this little flaw on it." They're gonna be unhappy. They're gonna send it back, or we're gonna have to give them an extra discount. We don't want that to happen. We want to catch all those things before they get in the shop, catch them again before they go out. And the manufacturers are kind of learning that.
Yes. They don't send us as many of those kind of guitars anymore. But I will say this, Yamaha is by far the least. We have probably sent back way less. It's dramatically less guitars from Yamaha to have to go back that didn't pass our QC when it arrived than any other brand that we have had. Because of the fact that they do such a good job with consistency, I'm going to hold it at the same place I did on this, which is a 4.4.
Okay, I agree with you. There's certain things that I don't necessarily love. First thing is looking down there into the braces. They just look very squared and rough. They're like rough sanded. You swear you could almost see the mill mark still on them. They're that rough. But that's more probably aesthetic. Build quality, they're very consistent and not having issues. So I'm gonna probably keep it right about the same place, the 4.7.
There you go. The aesthetics or the looks of these guitars, again. This is a hard call because I don't think any of the companies should change anything about what they do. All three of these guitars look great. We talked about the finish things. That's probably my biggest thing that I'm not a fan of these two models from Yamaha and Alvarez, whereas I do think it's a little bit nicer. If you want a traditional look, go with the Eastman. If you want a little bit more of a modern look, go with the Alvarez. They're all great. The Yamaha is a tradition in its own. It's a newer tradition, but it speaks Yamaha all the way across. So honestly, I'm going to give these all the same value. I think they all look great. For me, I'm just going to go ahead and put it all the way across. They all deserve a 5. They didn't do anything design-wise that I don't like. It's just its own unique style.
I agree. I think they've all kind of made their own unique look to it. So that we were talking about the binding on, the different binding selections that they used on them. I will give them all a really good rating because I think they had that traditional D18 mahogany dreadnought look. I've got to take away a point for the strap button in the back of the Alvarez neck. And I know they're going to hate me for this because they hear it and they think it's the right space for it. I don't like, and they've got it on the back of the heel of the neck. For me, aesthetically, I don't like it. It just kind of sticks out of the guitar. It also, for me, doesn't feel functional because when you got that guitar strap on, it's easy for that to pop off there, and it's not really pulled towards you. Whereas you got it on that neck, and it's like right where you want your guitar held. So I like it on the bottom heel of the neck, not on the back of it.
I'm with you. It's not pulling it away, it's pulling
we're going to say 5 across the board, except a 4.8 because of that strap button. And I apologize.
By the way, you're not the only one. You are not the only one. We are seeing lots and lots of comments about this. I was watching a deal.
I would also argue that the wood grain right there is not as strong because you're going straight into it rather than into the side, but
Hey, I got an argument against it, though. I saw last night a bunch of country stars were doing it. The ones that had theirs on the back of this like this, when they have their name, it's nice and flush and straight where it turns away. Yeah. If you really want your name on your strap to look just...
Okay. It's the small things, like I said, folks. Overall value, John. Let's go down to the last stage. All these are in such a good price point right now.
They are. They are.
But again, we're going to start with the Eastman, the E10D TC.
It's a 4.9. It just is. It's a great, great guitar. So much value. Adirondack spruce top, hard shell case, lifetime warranty. Yes, thermo-cured or torrefied.
Bone saddle.
It's a lot of really great options right there.
So I'm going to say, yes, absolute great value in a guitar. I'm going to go all the way up to 5. I think it's hard to beat that price point for the traditional built Dreadnought mahogany guitar. It's going all the way up there. So and it's going to be hard. These ones are also good competition in there.
They are. So if we go in here on the Alvarez Laureate, it's going to be very close. I'm going to give it a 4.8. It's not like the whole world of difference. It is a difference. But it's just a great sounding guitar and great playing guitar. And if you're more into that, its value is definitely there.
It's absolutely it's the guitar that turned us on to Alvarez, seeing him at the NAMM show. We've talked about that in the past. Really good new design for Alvarez to actually take a leap and decide to do more of a traditional look and build. I think they knocked it out of the park. I'm going to give it 4.9 as well, and that's even including it having a gig bag. It's just a little less value right there for that.
There you go. As far as the Yamaha, I find these two to be very, very equal. I'm going to stick with my 4.8 on that one as well. A lot of great value. If you are a Yamaha fan, you know that. They just give you a good value in there. We just got to give a little bit extra for that red spruce top and just a little bit more detail out of the Eastman, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you can't go wrong with any of these, and you probably have a preference already in mind. If you grew up listening to Yamaha, or your dad had one, or you had one, you're going to be a big fan of this guitar. You're not going to be disappointed at all. Same for the Alvarez, or the Eastman is more of a new, modern Dreadnought. I'm going to give this a 4.9 as well.
We're going to talk about
picking.
what out of these guitars is best for flat picking. I would say if I was to pick this case, I would go with the Eastman E10D for flat picking, with a second place probably falling on the Laureate. If I was going to go for a singer-songwriter, especially a folk vibe, in my opinion, I think that's where I would give the FG5 its best run right there. It's a little thicker, tends to let fill in the bottom end a little bit more and let vocals and things kind of sit on top of it. Plus, it's just got that classic 60s, 70s sound to it. And again, there were a lot of people using these guitars, and they really haven't changed that much. Quality's a little bit nicer as they've gone, but they haven't really changed that classic sound, and that's for good reason. It's a classic sound. If I was going to go with an instrument that kind of covered all bases, I think this is where Alvarez and the Laureate series did a great job. They really did come up with something that kind of fell in the middle of these particular three and kind of allowed, if I was more of a pop kind of player, doing some kind of more modern leady kind of things, not necessarily digging in as hard, I think this is a fantastic guitar at its price range. So again, I really truly believe that there is no loser in this particular series. I obviously have my favorite of it, but it wasn't like by a lot. I would play any of these guitars in any of these situations. I think they would definitely pass, so nothing wrong with any of these.
And now, as promised, folks, we're going to talk about our 3 favorite sets of strings for the Mahogany Dreadnought to bring out the best tone and playability. John, what would you say?
Man, when it comes down to this, for me, I still love, as for my individual sound, I love the GHS Americana mediums. I just think, for me, that's great. The lights are fantastic. Well, they also make a really, really nice medium light, or what they call a true medium. It's a really comfortable in-between space. Very rounded on the top end, so it takes away some of that bitey metallic tone.
The open unwound strings with
they're bronze plated, correct? And they just kind of have a little bit more warmth to them, but yet still keep a lot of that. I like a metallic, fresh set of strings, and I like how that works. For myself, my second favorite guitar string to use, if you haven't tried yet, the D'Addario XS. Those are a great option. Coated string lasts forever. If you're looking for a string that sounds fantastic for a very long period of time, the phosphor bronze, I'm personally not quite as big on the yellow or bright bronze. Some people also call it 80-20 bronze. Tends to be a little bit thin for myself and doesn't last as long, but under the coated strings, phosphor bronze, XS, that's a fantastic set of strings. If you're wanting something that gives you a little bit more torque and a little bit more power, the Stringjoy strings are really, really interesting. I'm not a fan of the Foxwoods, I will be honest. That's their coated string. Yeah. It did not work for me. It just did not work for me. I like the standards. Again, you'll be changing them more often, but it really did give a really cool character to the guitar without losing that bass that I'm used to, and by bass I mean B-A-S, E, not SS, space that's just like, this is my neutral. Phosphor bronze, guitar strings, lets me know what this guitar sounds like at all times, but this just gives me a hint of something a little bit more vintage and powerful, and I thought that was
different
really
feel
good.
to them as well, just because they're wound under tension, so
Correct.
the string just feels a little bit fuller. Well, guys, you can check out all 3 of these models on our website. And remember that we do offer the Dreadnought Guarantee, which is really cool. It includes a 1-year trade-in where you get up to 90% of your purchase price for any instrument that you purchase that is over $1,000.
That is true. Let us know in the comments which one you preferred, and hope you enjoy the showdown. Hit like and subscribe for more Acoustic Shop videos, and we will see you on the next one.